In recent years, the right has been waging a war against the education system by distorting the facts for their own ends and using those lies and innuendos to spread fear among parents by insinuating that their children are being brainwashed by communists masquerading as teachers. Not too long ago, the group Accuracy in Media did a hidden camera report about a school board in Ohio discussing how to teach history and current events in schools, with two bills that died in the 134th General Assembly of Ohio that failed to make it out of committee and that are sure to be reintroduced in the 135th General Assembly that are designed to forbid the teaching of CRT, critical race theory, in schools. First, though, what exactly is critical race theory? I'm going to use Wikipedia as source for most of this stuff. It's usually fairly accurate and it's available for anyone who wants to check what I'm saying. And my college professors always said, well, it was never to be cited as a source. However, it was a good source to find sources we could cite, and I've double-checked everything. Here are some excerpts from much longer articles that I have shortened for both brevity and clarity. Start with critical race theory. CRT is a cross-disciplinary examination by social and civil rights scholars and activists on how laws, social and political movements, and media shape and are shaped by social conceptions of race and ethnicity. Goals include challenging all mainstream and alternative views of racism and racial justice, including conservative, liberal, and progressive. The term critical in the name is an academic reference to critical thinking, critical theory, and scholarly criticism rather than criticizing or blaming people. One tenet of CRT is that racism and disparate racial outcomes are a result of complex, changing, and often subtle and institutional dynamics rather than explicit and intentional prejudices of individuals. Okay, let's break that down. Social concept. A social construct or social concept is the meaning, notion, or connotation placed on an object or event by a society and adopted by that society with respect to how they view or deal with the object or event. Friedrich Nietzsche put it, facts do not exist, only interpretation. In his 1922 book, Public Opinion, Walter Lippmann said, the real environment is altogether too big, too complex, and too fleeting for direct acquaintance between people and their environment. Each person constructs a pseudo-environment that is subjective, biased, and necessarily a bridged mental picture of the world, and to a degree, everyone's pseudo-environment is a fiction. Critical thinking. I feel more comfortable with this. I learned this in college. Critical thinking is the analysis of available facts, evidence, observation, and arguments to form a judgment. The subject is complex. Several different definitions exist, which generally include the rational, skeptical, and unbiased analysis or evaluation of factual evidence. Critical thinking is self-directed, self-disciplined, self-monitored, and self-corrective thinking. And accordingly, a critical thinker is one who practices the skills of critical thinking or has been schooled in its discipline. That is not a bad thing for high school students to be taught. Critical theory. This is a little more highbrow. A critical theory is an approach to social philosophy that focuses on society and culture to reveal, critique, and challenge power structure. With roots in sociology and literary criticism, it argues that social problems stem more from social structures and cultural assumptions than from individuals. It argues that ideology is the principal obstacle to human liberation. Critical theory finds applications in various fields of study, including psychoanalysis, sociology, history, communication theory, philosophy, and feminist theory, as well as critical race theory. Specifically, critical theory, capitalized, is a school of thought practiced by the Frankfurt School of theoreticians Herbert Marcuse, Theodor Adorno, Walter Benjamin, Erich Fromm, and Max Horkheimer. Horkheimer describes a theory as critical insofar as it seeks to, quote, to liberate human beings from the circumstances that enslave them, unquote. Critical theory is one of the major components of both modern and postmodern thought and is widely applied to the humanities and social sciences today. Not sure I understood that, but that's okay. We'll explain why at the end. Social philosophy examines questions about the foundation of social institutions, social behavior, and interpretations of society in terms of ethical values rather than empirical relations. Social philosophers emphasize understanding the social context for political, legal, moral, and cultural questions and the development of novel theoretical framework, from social ontology to care ethics to cosmopolitan theories of democracy, natural law, human rights, gender equality, and global justice. Social philosophy, ethics, and political philosophy all share intimate connections with other disciplines in the social sciences. In turn, the social sciences themselves are of focal interest to the philosophy of social science. criticism. And we're all used to that. We all know basically what that is. Criticism is the construction of a judgment about the negative qualities or someone or something. Criticism can range from impromptu context to a written detailed response. Criticism falls into several overlapping types, including theoretical, practical, impressionistic, affective, prescriptive, or descriptive. Included in this is critique versus criticism. In the English language, philosopher Gianni Vattimo suggests that criticism is used more frequently to denote literary criticism or art criticism, while critique refers to more general and profound writing, as Immanuel Kant's Critique of Pure Reason. Another distinction that is sometimes made is that critique is never personalized nor ad hominem and is presented in a way that encourages rebuttal or expansion of ideas expressed. If all that sounds like some pretty highbrow stuff the average person or parent wouldn't understand, you'd be right. Of all the things mentioned above, possibly the only thing that would be taught to a high school student is the concept of critical thinking. And even then, it is something that students would probably only be taught in a cursory way. Critical race theory is not even something that an undergrad in college would study, because they would first need a solid grounding in all the areas I mentioned before attempting even being considered for entry into a postgrad program in sociology, philosophy, or even law school. It's something that a student would not study in any way in depth, if at all, before they're working on a master's degree. None of the laws that have been proposed or enacted have been written by the legislator. They are actually all model legislation proposed by right-wing and in some cases far right-wing groups to maintain the status quo, and in some cases the status quo circa 1960. Accuracy in media, while it is media, it's far from accurate. In fact, they're nothing but fearmongers who are using fear of the unknown to fundraise to keep themselves from having to find any kind of real work.